everyone, thank you for tuning in. For this video I have been a bit of a busy bee and I have renovated a unit that I'm going to use here in this spare room to reorganise all my craft stuff, but I had to rejuvenate the unit before it came up here. The unit itself is from a dear lady that passed away last year, and the unit came from her flat. It was quite an iconic piece in her flat. It was something that we would admire. Part of it is a display unit, and we would go in and we would sit in front of the display where she had all of her crystal ornaments, and we would sit there gazing at them. So for me it was quite a memorable piece from her flat, and I couldn't let it go. I've had it since last year and it's been sat out in the garage. Last summer I started to renovate it and give it a new lease of life, and I was wanting to shabby chic it. Now I put the first layer of paint on. The natural oils from the wood came through that paint and I then didn't know what to do with it. I went out to the garage more recently and I realised I quite liked the effect that it was giving. So this video shows you what I have done from there on out to the finished product that is now in the room. So I hope you enjoy and come along with me on the process. So this is the unit that I'm going to be revamping and putting up into the spare room and use it as storage space for all my craft stuff, my postage stuff, and just to keep it all contained so it's just not looking so messy like it is at the moment. As you can see, it's already got one coat of paint on it, and this is what I did last August, September. And because the underlying oils from the wood leached through and I didn't really know what to do with it, I left it in the garage and that's the way it's been since. I went and had a look at it recently and decided I actually quite like the mottled effect on the doors and the drawers, so I'm going to just sand it down, put another coat of the chalk paint over the top, and then take off some of the edges like you do with shabby chic work, and then wax it out. I'm going to get some crystal doorknobs. I've seen the ones I think I want, but we'll go and have another look at those a bit later. Firstly, I'm going to get on to sanding this layer down so that I can repaint it. I'm going to give you a bit of a close-up of the unit and the different effect that the paint is having at the moment. This is the top of the unit, and as you can see, you're still seeing some of the wood underneath, and this is how it's gone, where the natural oils from the wood have kind of leached through. But if we go down onto the door, you can see it's quite a mottled effect, and I quite like that. It's quite even all the way down, so I don't think it's going to be a problem. I quite like it, and it just brings out the original character. It's like it just doesn't want to be covered up. The drawers are slightly more patchy with it, but again, it's the character of the unit. It's what it was and what it wants to be. Above the drawers, it's got this panel, which is a secret drawer, and I'm not going to do anything with this one. I like it as it is. I like the detail, and I just think amongst all the white around it, I'm going to leave that. I think I'm going to paint this so that this is surrounded with white. And then above it there's a display cabinet, and it's got sliding doors and it's mirrored on the bottom and on the back. So I've painted inside the whole of this cabinet so that it brightens the whole thing up and doesn't look so dark. On the underneath of the cabinet, it's got these turned wooden round legs, and I've sanded away some of the very dark varnish, and I just like the way it's revealed itself, and I think it will tie in with the decorative panel if I leave these as natural wood. So as you can see, it's a very unique cabinet. I've not seen anything else like it. It was an iconic piece in the lady's flat, and I couldn't just let it go, but I wanted to give it a little bit of a new lease of life so that it fits in with my style but still reminds me of the look that was hers. undecided. Now that I've gone and taken that down a bit, I quite like the kind of scuffed wood effect. And I think by just putting some wax on that, it might be quite a nice look on itself. The thing with the top is it's going to be covered anyway. But I think I'd be happy to have that down on the doors as well and then just waxed. So I'm going to keep going, I'm going to sand all the rest and see where we go. Actually really liking it as it is, so I think I'm going to continue. I'm going to put a coat of wax on it and then I'm going to be done, which saves me time, and yeah, I just like it like that. I need to do before I wax the unit, and one of them is to paint this bar white, so I'm going to do that now. As I'm sat at this angle, I have painted this bit, it's still wet at the minute, and then I look up and there's this rail here, and I think I'm going to have to paint that as well, so let's get that done. That I need to get to whiten it up, and I've sanded the bits that I want sanded, so I'm now going to leave that overnight, because if there are any oils that are going to leach out from the surrounding bits and darken down the white like the rest of it did, I'm going to need to leave that overnight to allow that to happen, and then I can sand it off in the morning. The work that I'm going to do this evening is to go over to one of my local shops and get the crystal doorknobs that I've seen, so that I can fix them on tomorrow evening, hopefully, once this has all been waxed and buffed up. It's now the following morning and I've come down and I've had a bit of a play because I've inspected some of the work and I've changed my mind on what I'm going to do with this. Now I was going to rough up the paintwork that I did yesterday, but on closer inspection I quite like it as a bright white surround and then just have the top and the doors as the scuffed, shabby chic-y looking areas. So then I went in closer and I cleaned all the glass and the mirrors and everything so that they're all sparkling, and then I was able to get a better look at all the paintwork on the inside. Hi. And the inside paintwork, I think if I'm going to keep it bright white I need to just go over it again and just tidy it up, so I'm going to do that now. So I've skipped ahead a little bit because I didn't want to bore you with all the detailing work, but I've taken all the excess paint off from around the mirrors and polished them all up again, and all the paint in the surrounding is now all dry. So I've been able to call that done, and now I need to get on with the waxing of the drawers, so I'm going to do that now. Sit and dry for the 10 minutes that it says before I buff them out, and I'm going to move on to the unit. Everything dry for over 10 minutes, and I'm going to buff the drawers first and work my way round the unit, buffing all the wax off. The almost finished unit. I have painted, sanded, waxed and buffed, and the only thing I need to do is, as Winnie is pointing out, add the crystal knobs to the drawers and the doors. Now on the doors there are two holes, and that's because it was a handle and I just wanted the crystal knobs for this, and I thought I was going to fill the hole. That's why I bought the wood filler when I got the crystal handles, and it turns out that it was a dark filler, and I have a feeling it would just look a bit silly. It'd look no different to just leaving it like this. So at the moment I'm going to leave it, and at some point I will fill this with a light wood filler and just fill in the gaps, but I need to find one because the local store didn't have a light filler. So let's get on and add all the handles. Already I can tell I'm going to like this, so let's carry on and do the others. We're done. I am loving the way this has come out. I will give you a close-up. Now that the unit is in place, I'm not liking this white bar. I think it needs to be merged in, looking like the other wood around it. It just seems a bit harsh. So I'm going to do that before I go any further and give you a close-up of all the details. To add some wax to bring out the wood colour. I'll buff that off in 10 minutes. Now that the unit is in situ, I'm going to give you a close-up of all the bits that I've worked on and that I've changed on it. Obviously the main thing is that it was a very dark wood finish, and there was damage to the top on this side because there used to be a fish tank sat on it and there'd been some water damage. So I took all the top back and then mirrored that on the fronts and the fronts of the drawers. The panel in the middle I didn't ever want to change. That is very decorative, and it's just something that I like as it is, and I just think in the centre of the piece it just works fine. I've also left the feet as they are because, again, it's just to balance out the wood panel in the middle. So as an overview of the top, as you can see, I sanded it down, did the white paint, sanded it off, paying extra attention to the edges so that they are more worn, yeah, just more of the wood showing through. You can see the colour difference here. This is where the water damage was, and more of the wood's natural oils leached through into the white, and that's why I haven't left it all white, because I don't think I could have done. I think I've worked with it and I've given it what it was asking for. It wanted to still be seen through all the white. So you can see that I've taken all the edges off. And then down onto the doors, which again I've continued just with the white paint and then sanding it off and waxing it. Down to the feet that I have kept as they were. And then we've got that decorative panel. And as I've just done, I've taken this down because it was just too white against this, and it just mirrors this part better. I absolutely love the crystal handles. They give off in this room, they just give off a fantastic light and sparkle onto the wood panels. Then on the inside there is a mirrored base and a mirrored back and the glass sliding doors, and what I have done in here is to paint the entire surround white so that it just brightens the whole cubby up. It was quite dark unless you were going to have some lighting in there, so I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to display in there, but I'm sure I'll figure something out. The only thing I did out off of camera was the legs. I'd forgot to wax those when I waxed everything else, so I've waxed those and I'm just in the process of waiting for that to dry so I can buff them out. But I've got the handles on and it's ready to go up into the new room. So keep your eyes peeled and that video will be out as soon as possible.